Alright guys, today's video is manganese sulfate. But before I continue into that, I'm going to issue a correction from my chestnut video when I did the copper update. Stupid me, if I had just looked up a little better, that I would have noticed this tree is covered in brand new growth everywhere. And it's doing something for the first time in the history of any chestnut tree I've ever seen. It's reproducing. A new wave of catkins up there. Even over here. I have never ever seen this happen before. So let's I can't guarantee these same results. Let me hold on one second here. But look at that. Brand new growth with new catkins. Never ever have I seen anything like that before. There's another limb with them. So that's a new phenomenon in my book. There's another one. Wow. It is also storming very close by. I may cut this video short or do another or edit this in, but I just wanted to get this in. This is some of the craziest things I've ever seen with these chestnut trees. I have never ever seen a second wave of regenerative reproduction like that. But there is new growth all over this tree. It is no longer classified as a sick or dying tree. All new growth up there, everywhere. Even the top is filling out really fast now. If you wanted to, you could add another wave of P and K in here just for good measure. But the amount of growth I'm seeing, you know what? We're going to get out of here. I'll just edit in the manganese sulfate after this. That was way too close, guys. So stay safe out there. All right, guys, let's continue on with this manganese sulfate. After some close calls with a thunderstorm, you can see it's done passed and made a nice, beautiful rainbow. It has stopped thundering and lightning. So I'm back out here to finish up this video. Just absolutely beautiful when you see it over them mountains. It was a little brighter than that, but we have some more clouds here that's trying to rebuild, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that. All right, so let's get into the video. And by the way, wasn't that amazing result on that chestnut tree? It went from being absolutely sick as a dog and looked like it was dying to now growing and reproducing again. That's a first. I'm excited to see that. All right, so let's get into the reason why we need manganese in the food plot. The sulfate with this fertilizer is to help slowly build my sulfur levels, but I'm using a sulfate version instead of sulfur. And I will have a video just for sulfur later on. So I want to focus on the manganese portion of this video so it doesn't get too lengthy. So why do we need manganese in food plots? All right, let's start with the benefits for deer. I don't think a lot of people realize this, and I've been doing different researches through YouTube videos, online through other sources. I find more information about manganese and the properties of it than I do people with videos on YouTube. I think this is a very, very important trace mineral. You know, like boron, a lot of people don't know about that. Well, you need to understand the value of having proper manganese in your soil. So first off, I know that some of you have been watching pretty much video after video. So anybody that is new, you see all those holes? Looks like Swiss cheese in your food plot. Well, that is a manganese shortage. I have been slowly building the reserves in the soil. So in section 2, I had a raw number 7.7, but everywhere else was 13 or up to 16 in the soil. Still not enough, but it is doing better. I've more than doubled it, or minimum doubled the levels in this food plot. So let's get into the benefits for deer. First off, there is a massive benefit to bucks. Manganese is the driver that turns loose the calcium and phosphorus in the deer's antlers. It helps it to get where it needs to be and helps with antler bonding and structure of racks. Deer in manganese poor soils will have smaller racks and more brittle racks. You'll find a lot of bucks with broken antlers during the rut, broken points, broken main beams, or broke off at the skull. You're trying to prevent those injuries from occurring in the skull cap. Well, we got to put some manganese out here to really strengthen the sturdiness of those antlers. Without it, you're going to continue to see the bucks break antlers off. Now, yes, you can fix other minerals in your food plot. And let's say you've grown a buck that scores 160 inches. Without that manganese, that buck is still not going to reach his potential. Nor is he going to have a solid rack. You take a much higher risk of breaking bone. Also, that occurs to what happens inside the body. It also drives phosphorus and calcium throughout the body, helping proper absorption of that particular set of minerals or nutrients, whatever you want to call it. So it is a regulator. We must keep a high-end regulator going if you want to start seeing the larger antlers. So it's more than just me talking about holes in leaves. It also helps with reproduction. Your odds of having bigger, stronger fawns and more twins can go up. It actually increases the reproductive hormones in deer and can help regulate their bodies and maintain a stronger function. It also, like copper, fights disease. So we've got copper that I have added in here. Is it up to where I want it? Probably not. I'd say I'm probably going to have to add some more copper based on the amount of absorption that I've seen in these plants, and even with the manganese absorption. If I put out the recommended dosage and it only went up by double or a little more, obviously we're going to put more out. But I'm going to wait till the end of the year, and when I redo my soil test in the early spring or late winter, I will see what that number comes out to be. Therefore, I can try to achieve my goals. But if manganese is, even off, when those fawns are already born, there is vital steps. Before birth, you want them to have high manganese levels or adequate, let me get rid of adequate, optimal levels of manganese while they're developing as a fetus. That makes bigger, stronger fawns. Then, like what copper can do, when it helps with bone density and strength of bones in deer, I want you to think about something. Are you having a harder time with deer getting mass on their antlers? Or you see a lot of bucks with one side bigger than the other? This is a theory/study thing that I've seen. I'm not going to publish it or talk about it because I want to see what the true results are, because it's kind of hard to prove that. But if your copper and manganese levels are more adequate, it tends to help with the pedicle development of fawns. So the pedicle on their heads, those little fawn bucks, will often be larger and more sturdy when it comes to their first set of racks. So you could see, based on a pedicle increase, a thickness increase in the rack. So if you think you're a little shy in the mass department, look at your manganese level and check it out. Copper levels, check it out. That copper will really help with those pedicle formations, and in tandem with manganese puts proper bone structure on those two bumps or plates in the skull right there. So that will help boost the size of your deer. I think that's a fantastic weapon in growing larger deer, is these trace minerals. We just don't realize that how bad the soil has gotten. And if I had not done this soil test, would I know my copper was that bad and that I needed to put copper in here? Absolutely not. And now we're getting eruptive plants, which leads into the next phase of plant development here. Last year, when I had all that soybean falling over, that should have been a warning sign, other than the fact that it was planted too thick for the amount of nutrients I had in the ground, that something else was wrong. And I didn't pick up on it at the time, but it is 2 or 3 trace minerals in tandem that is causing this failure. One of them is manganese, which helps build structures, strong cell structure. It also increases rate of growth. It is not necessarily like a root booster per se on the level of copper, but it can help in some ways with root structure formations. So you're helping above and below. Throw in copper with that, you're building stronger plants again. Copper stimulates the roots harder and you get bigger roots. Then you start building biomass on top. Big, strong biomass. And what do you think's happening under the ground? The root would be even more impressive than the growth on top. So there is a mountain of roots growing in this nasty, rocky soil. And when you look at this, you wouldn't think we have rocky soil, except for some of the areas here that I've resprayed the soybeans behind, and it will fill that in. But the way the plants are growing, you wouldn't think that there's rocks in here on the scale that I know that's in here. Because here, you see a few rocks, right? You don't see a solid mat of rocks. Well, they're under there. They're here, trust me. The soil's gotten better. I've also added more soil, so it's kind of buried a few of these down in there so they don't look so bad. But manganese can definitely help with chlorophyll. So I put copper in here. It helps with chlorophyll. Manganese helps with chlorophyll. Well, my goodness, how green is this plot going to get? You're going to see it get greener than this by the time I'm done with it. And we ain't even got to the nitrogen treatment yet. So I'm using trace minerals right now to show you the power of those minerals that a lot of people often overlook. Also, let's get into more plant information here. So when manganese is applied, you're going to get your faster growth, bigger cell structure. Hey, getting a little bit of extra rain. That ain't enough to do anything. You also get nutrients to the deer. But the other benefit is, like in deer, when I talked about phosphorus and calcium being optimized in the deer, you're also doing this for the plants. So you're actually helping phosphorus levels and calcium levels. So the parts per million, when you actually do soil tests, there is another test that can determine what's in the leaves. How well are you pulling this out of the ground and transferring it to the plant? So if you put manganese in here to the level it needs to be, which mine needs to be around 50 parts per million, then suddenly my phosphorus and my calcium in these plants will go up. I've got plenty of phosphorus in here. I could literally live out the rest of my life and live to be a 500,000-600,000 years old, doesn't matter. There's still enough stored phosphorus in this soil. I'll never run out. At least in a normal person's lifetime. But several generations even down the road, it still won't run out. This is the perfect system. So I can actually run a higher rate of phosphorus transfer because my manganese levels are going up. Hey, we got another rainbow coming back. Nice and pretty. And when you're building plants like this and understanding what these trace minerals are valuable for, you're going to build one heck of a super nutrient food plot. Think of those supplement bottles when you see them on the store shelves for people. What kind of supplement are you creating out here? I guarantee you the health of this ground is a whole lot better than that hayfield. It was already showing drought and wither. This is not. Which leads me into my next step. There are several trace minerals that you need to really look at to increase drought resistance. Copper is one of them, but manganese is even stronger of a drought resistance. So get that up to where it needs to be. Your plots can last even longer and grow even longer. So if I had this adequate or optimal, prefer optimal, I might tack on an additional 2 weeks before I start seeing drought signs. Or it could be longer than that, because this ground has never really been completely fixed. It's only been partially fixed. And this is what I consider partial fixing. We're not in the category of what I consider a super nutrient plot, but we're getting closer. So more potassium in here will make bigger plants. More manganese in here makes bigger plants. You see where I'm heading with this? Even though I have what looks like some excellent returns here, we still have more we can do. And just imagine the tonnage this plot can crank out when you have monstrous soybean leaf sizes. So we've got this guy here, right? That is a new record. Every day I'm coming out here, we're finding new records. So this one little leaf is now as big as my hand. Over here we have one I think is even bigger, which is this guy possibly. So I'm still getting these type of returns without the full function of trace minerals. And to tell you the truth, if I had a plot like this and I didn't really understand what was going on under the ground, you think I would actually look into the holes in the leaves? Probably not, because I would be so happy to see soybean that large that I think I'm done. And we have a ways to go. So I've purchased sulfur and manganese on eBay in many occasions now. This will be my third round. The island has gotten a couple of rounds. Let's see here. That rainbow's really close. Looks like it's just right across the road. So now that I'm building this up and getting more and more of this soil elevated, the plants are going to get bigger. We're going to create more tonnage. We're going to create bigger, healthier deer. This is how the system works. Without these nutrients, you can try to grow all the plants you want, and it still won't give you the top-notch deer it could be. Sure, you can grow something that looks impressive, but how do you know that's the top end? We have deer now that are scoring well into the 200s in the wild, and I'm sure if you want to question whether those are legit or not, that's fine. But if you understand nutrition, that is certainly not out of the realm of possibility. There's been even deer over 300 inches. Matter of fact, I think it's hit 310 or 315 inches of antler on a deer in the wild. So where is the top? We will not know that, because this soil has been so degraded over time that deer sizes have dropped. We have become accustomed to smaller plant sizes and smaller deer. Now I'm flipping the script. I want to see how big they can get, and in return, my deer is going to follow this food plots pattern. And that's why I have a young buck right now that's going to challenge Mr. Clean. And for those of you that's new, I call him Twin Towers. And I've been doing quite a bit of video study on him because he's here all the time. And I think his daddy is Poser. That is this dream come true for me, because I made multiple comments that Poser could have been a much nicer buck if he had been in this system, and he never was. He would visit during the rut, and then he would hang around to, let's say, from November to probably middle to end of February, and he would disappear. He wouldn't stay here to get protein. He wasn't born into a good system. His antlers were telling me that he wasn't born into a good system, but he had excellent mass for a deer in this type of soil conditions. I would say that one side was almost at 6 inches around. Pretty darn close. But he did not have the nutritional bumps or pearls that I was looking for in a healthy deer. So if I can upgrade the health of his offspring by doing trace minerals and high amounts of food, if Twin Towers can live to, let's say, 3.5 years old, he's probably going to be bigger than his daddy at 4. That's what I want to see. And that's the type of deer that can transform into something really special. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just show a small amount of broadcasting here. Now this is water soluble, so if you want to mix this in a watering tank and spray this over your food plot, that is perfectly fine. But here I'm just powdering, and the rain's going to help wash this off. And it's starting to rain again. Awesome, good timing. So I'm just going to put it, let's put it around this one here too. I'll give it a stronger dose so you can see what happens when this stuff really kicks in. That's going to be a strong dose of manganese there. So we're after bigger bucks, and this is how we're going to do it, is nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. All right, that's enough of me broadcasting, and I'm going to hurry up while this rain's coming so it'll wash off of here and strengthen these plants. I hope this video is informative for you, and you all have a wonderful day. All right, guys, real quick, manganese is out. It's all done. I just wanted to show this video just because this rainbow is getting extremely intense, and now we're forming a secondary rainbow. Just absolutely beautiful. It's kind of almost like a protective dome, ain't it? It is a promise, and I hope we remember what that promise is about. Have a good one.